Hi, welcome. This is Kimberly Kuhns, a day at a daycare with Kimberly Kuhns. I am going to be talking in my podcast about days at a daycare and how it is. When you first start a job, you have to go through training like CPR, first aid, and these trainings are very, very important because if you don't pass these and do these, then you can't be in the classroom. Blood and bodily fluids to know what to happen if a kid was to cut him or herself. And CPR is used if a kid chokes, which I've had experienced that, and it's not a pleasant sight. First aid is when a kid falls and hurts himself and put ice on a head or anything. Tips to do with kids during the time you are there in the classroom, like activities, and you will have to be leading the educational activities, and you will have to plan them ahead of time. It takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of thought process, and it takes a lot of thinking if they're able to handle it. You will have to learn about child growth and development, educational psychology, classroom management, and requirements. That is a must. You have to know what is required to do in the classroom in order to be in the classroom, and the management that you need to know. The duties like the cleaning, you gotta know how to clean really well in the classroom and in the lunchroom and anywhere where you need to clean, because if you don't keep it clean, the kids are going to get into it and they're going to end up getting sick, and that's not going to be pleasant. Curriculum development. You need to work with them on developing new skills that they need to work on to become a well-learned child. Like if they haven't learned how to walk, you got to teach them how to walk. Like, take it easy the first step, and then as you do it more, they might be able to walk by themselves. And I've actually experienced that with a kid in one of my classrooms. And that's the training expectations you will need to know. The duties and responsibilities is creating a safe and nurturing environment for young children. You gotta make sure it's safe for the kids. Because if it's not safe for the kids, then they can't be in that classroom or anywhere, because you gotta know what they can and cannot do. Like, I have a kid in one of my classrooms that tackles kids down. That cannot happen, because that is not nice, and the kid's gonna end up hurting another kid, and that kid might break an arm or bust their head open or something. Providing basic care and supervision. You gotta supervise these kids 100%, 24/7, the whole time you're there, especially when they're napping. When they're napping is when you gotta keep a closer eye on them. But I'm going to talk about napping in my next podcast. You gotta be able to know how to communicate with people. Communication is a must with the parents. If you don't communicate well with the parents, you cannot pass talking to the parents, and they will not accept what you're saying, and they will go to a different teacher. Health, hygiene of the children. If they're having a runny nose, what do? Common sense. You wipe their nose with a baby wipe or with the Kleenex, and then after that, the teacher needs to wash their hands. And then with the diaper changing, you gotta make sure your hands are clean before you change a kid's diaper. That is a must, because last Thursday, my daycare ended up having PTQ, which is a state regulation place where they have to come in every so often to inspect and make sure the place is expected of what it should be like. You gotta make sure that you are doing everything you can to keep those kids safe, and your health and the kids' health. And the daycare will have a thermometer there for the kids. And if you think the kid is running a fever and you're in ratio, which that means, like in one of my classrooms on Fridays, we have 6 kids and they're 1-year-olds. The ratio is 5-to-1, which means 5 kids of 1 year old to 1 teacher. If you're not in ratio, then you gotta somehow get a thermometer and get that kid's temperature taken. And if it's over the limit that the daycare allows for that kid to be there, they have to go home, and you will most likely will have to notify the parents to come pick up the child if it reaches over the limit of the temperature requirements. You gotta make sure you know what you're doing at all times and watch these kids constantly. There are kids that will run off. There are kids that will, whatever you think, they will do. Like in the class where I'm at tomorrow, we have kids that take each other's pacifier. When you get it from that one kid that has took it from that one kid, we gotta go wash it off in the sink, because we don't know if where they put the mouth on has been in that other kid's mouth, and if you don't wash it off, then you will cross germs from that one kid to the other kid, and they will get sick. This is a big responsibility job, and you gotta know what you're doing at all times. I cannot express that enough. And you just can't not know what to do at certain times. I started doing that when I first started, but then as I've been there, and I've been there for 8 months right now, I've gradually learned what to do and been on top of it. And recently, I've been in the classroom by myself this week, and I'm not even certified to be by myself quite yet. And another training you will have to learn, definitely have to learn and pass, is safe sleep. I cannot express that enough. Safe sleep is where the kid has to lie on their stomach And if the kid needs to be patted to sleep, you pat them lightly on the back or on the butt, but lightly though. You cannot do it hard because it will leave the back red and they will start crying. I have not witnessed that, but I know from like when people do that to kids. So I just hope you learn something from my podcast. This is my first one. So if you want to leave questions or comments to help me better these podcasts, leave them in the comments below. This is A Day at the Daycare with Kimberly Kuhns, and we'll see you guys soon.